Alright, so welcome to my first tier ranking video. We are, of course, going to be talking about the Halloween films right here. So, just a little disclaimer, this is just for fun. I know that not everybody is going to have the same taste, so all I ask is just kind of be respectful in the comments. I do want to hear what your particular rankings would look like. So just to go over these really quick, Loomis Gold, that's my favorite ones. They're maybe not the best made, but they certainly are the ones that I do revisit the most. So Myers Approved is still pretty good. Still movies that I do revisit occasionally. Totally Okay is, of course, just sort of mid-tier. They're not awful, but they're not really great. Trapped in the Laundry Room, of course, is maybe not the worst, but definitely down there. And then, of course, The Annoying Cops from Part 5 is the worst. So, pretty simple. I definitely do have maybe some, like, controversial takes on some of these rankings, but I don't know. Again, it's just for fun. So, obviously, Part 1 is going into the Loomis Gold. What can I say that hasn't already been said about the first Halloween film? While it's not the first slasher movie, it definitely cemented that as a very profitable, viable horror genre in the horror space. So, yeah, game changer, amazing. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. So part 2, I think is really good. I'm going to put it up here as well. It's definitely one of those rare sequels that, while I think, yes, it does have its flaws, it's still a really good time. I think, like, the set pieces are pretty great. Has a nice blending of some action with some really good scares and, you know, kind of ups the gore factor. So, yeah, that is going to be up here. So, part 3, I was going back and forth where I want to put this, but I think I'm going to put this just at the Myers Approved. I used to hate Halloween 3, but as I got a little bit older, I really do appreciate kind of what they were trying to do with taking the series in more of kind of like a horror anthology aspect. And as much as I love Michael Myers, it would have been kind of interesting to see, had this been a big moneymaker, what other kind of films would we get that would be sort of in the vein of like the Halloween season. It's kind of a shame that we'll never really know what those would have looked like, but I kind of see it as, you know, they were trying to do a movie version of American Horror Story where it would be, you know, a different kind of movie or theme every year. So, yeah, that is going to go up here. So, part 4, I have a huge fondness for. Again, I could easily put it up here, but I do think it kind of has those flaws that maybe keeps it really from going up to Loomis Gold, so I'm just going to put it at Myers Approved, which is still really good. Halloween 4 is very nostalgic for me. I think back as a young horror fan, the Halloween movies I would watch the most is the first Halloween and part 4, and then probably 2 and the other ones. But yeah, this one was really my jam. I loved it. I remember having the Anchor Bay tin on DVD, which was and still is the coolest thing ever. So yeah, that is certainly earns its place up here. So part 5 is one of those that I've seen a bunch of times and I can just never get on board with it. Again, all of these movies have kind of something endearing and charming about them, but as far as movies that I'm probably not likely to really rewatch a lot, that's Halloween 5. All right, so another controversial one is Halloween 6. Um, Again, I don't think it's gold level, but it is something that I would probably rewatch quite a bit. I think it's great. I love the atmosphere. I love that it. I know the whole Thorn cult thing is very controversial in the fandom, but I think it's an interesting kind of way to recontextualize some of the early films. And yeah, I just love it. I don't care if it's hokey or maybe cheesy. I do see a lot of people kind of coming around to Halloween 6, which is great. Um, so H2O, I really enjoy. I'm even going to put that up here. I know recently this has also kind of had a reappraisal. And yes, while I do find some of the maybe more dated elements kind of cringy, it is this movie is very much of its time. But I like it. I enjoy it. I kind of love that. In a way, I think it kind of wraps up Laurie's story a little bit more um, like in a more interesting way than I think that the new trilogy did. And I think again, by all rights, this should be here, but I love it. I watch it every single year. So um, Halloween Resurrection, um, kind of going back and forth. I'm gonna put it here because I hate how they, spoiler alert, but how they kill off Laurie Strode in this timeline in such a unceremonious, very dumb way. And yeah, again, this movie has its charm. Busta Rhymes in it is great. I think it's kind of fun in sort of a late '90s, early 2000s aspect. And yeah, there's a lot of charm and stuff to like about this movie, but it's again going by movies that I'm least likely to rewatch. It's just kind of gotta go here. So now we have Rob Zombie's two movies, and again, this is very controversial. And I am gonna put this up here. Um, so I do like this movie. I think that I have to give Rob Zombie a lot of credit for not only having the balls to sort of remake this classic, but to put his own spin on it. And I mean, it's definitely one of those things where you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Fans are not going to like it either way, just on principle. But if you make it too similar, then you're just copying the original. But if you also stray too far, you're also, you know, being disrespectful to the original. So I did like how how Rob Zombie did go in his own direction. I am one of those people that think it's kind of interesting taking this sort of true crime slash nature versus nurture kind of thing with Michael Myers. Again, it's not for everybody, especially if you want to try to keep him as sort of like a blank kind of boogeyman figure. But yeah, I mean, it's established in the first film that he is flesh and blood, even though, we kind of create this own sort of monomyth for him, for Michael Myers. So, yeah, I like it. And part two, I'm going to kind of put maybe mid. Most people would probably put it in one of these two, but again, I definitely don't like it as much as the first film. It certainly is more disjointed, and I think like either you like the character of Laurie in this, or you find her absolutely obnoxious, which I can kind of see both points. But Where I like this film is it it kind of takes a more surreal approach to a Halloween film, and yeah, I think that's ballsy. Like taking a slasher film but trying to sort of make it into a semi art house film is kind of madness, but it kind of works. So yeah, that's why I think I'm just kind of putting it in the mid. Again, I enjoy it, but it does have a lot of flaws. It is a little overly long. I do think that the way they sort of showcase like a final girl's sort of PTSD and the things she goes through after she survived, it's the emotional scars you don't really see a lot in slasher movies. I know this is something they try to do in H2O, which I think they did okay. This was something that they also try to do in the new Halloween trilogy, which again, not it wasn't a bad take on that, but I think honestly, Halloween 2 has the most interesting sort of post Final Girl sort of battle, which was you may have survived all these horrible things, but of course that's going to leave a lot of psychological scars. But it's also a slasher film and a pretty brutal one. So yeah, I'm gonna put that here. So now we have the new trilogy, which again, not a lot of fans really like. I can kind of see that. But let's just get into the first one. I'm honestly going to put this probably in the totally okay. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily an awful film, but I don't think that it really understands like the character Laurie Strode. I think that there's a lot of um, tonal inconsistencies. There's a lot of like narrative sort of like pitfalls that um, don't really make a lot of sense. So yeah, it's one that I went to see it in theaters and I was very disappointed. It was just maybe overly hyped. Um, I believe this was the movie that well, I'm trying to think if I want to tell this story. So I won't mention their name, but there was a pretty famous um, horror critic who, um, kind of took me to task for my opinion on Halloween 2018, which wasn't, it wasn't like a scorching hot take. It was just very like what I didn't like about the movie and had some of things to back it up, but she decided she wanted to sort of vehemently defend this film, and that's fine. But I always get kind of a laugh because it's such a weird hill to want to die on. But yeah, it's totally okay. Halloween Kills I'm gonna put in Trapped in the Laundry Room. I don't think it's quite as bad as like some of the like these other films, but it's certainly yeah, just couldn't have it any higher. It is one of those films that is really trying. It's a very try hard film. Again, I feel like they don't really I mean, Laurie Strode is like barely in this. It is kind of fun to see some of the other characters return, like Lindsay. They don't really do much with those characters. It's just kind of like, hey, remember her, kind of thing. But yeah, and then you have like the annoying Evil Dies Tonight, which I know people kind of sort of go back and forth on, but I just think it's so annoying and it's just overly used. And it has some really kind of dumb, um, like plot holes scattered throughout, and it's things that just seem like an easy fix, but as sort of like the middle to this already kind of weird trilogy, it's just kind of meh. So the final film is Halloween Ends, and I'm I'm not gonna put it up here, but I will say I think it maybe deserves up here, and I'll explain why. So this is a bad movie, but it is possibly, it slides into that so bad it's enjoyable. Like, there is so many weird non sequiturs, and it's so disconnected from the other three films. I did a full review of this with Dom, but I'll just kind of sum up my feelings. It's just, I don't even know how. I mean, it's just such a weird way to sort of end your trilogy. They introduce a character that was never set up in the other films. None of the characters seem to act like they did in the previous two films. And yes, you know, you might be like, well, you know, characters are going to grow and be a little bit different, but that's not the case. It almost seems like they kind of regress. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't even feel kind of like it's connected to the other two films. But I don't feel like I want to put it down here because it is really entertaining. Like, it is a baffling kind of mess of a movie. So that's why I'm going to put it up in Myers approved. As you can see by my ranking, I really like this series. It's a series that even kind of the worst films are still, I think, really enjoyable. I was somebody that kind of grew up in the 90s when they were still kind of making some of these later ones like Halloween 6, but also Anchor Bay was re-releasing the original films, and that was really exciting to kind of discover those. And yeah, I mean, they're definitely it's a comfort horror series for me. Yeah, please chime in the comments. Let me know how you would rank these. Again, just keep it civil. If you don't agree with my ranking, that's fine. I mean, any given day, I might kind of change these, but I just kind of go by the ones I like and watch the most. But yeah, again, even the worst films, I still find there's something kind of charming about them. So, you know, I want to hear what you think, and let me know if you like more tier videos. I've been wanting to kind of make one for a while. This is my first. And yeah, as always, please like, subscribe. We put out some really great content every week. I have a home video review show that I do every Tuesday, so you don't want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe for that, and have a great spooky season.